Now, Silva won the second ballot and began his term anew.
In Imo State, the reason for the off-cycle election is quite more recent than in the other two states.
Yeah.
I mean, Emeka Ihedioha was elected governor of the state in 2019 general elections, but Hope Uzodimma, who came fourth in that election, challenged the result. In a controversial ruling in January of 2020, Nigeria Supreme Court declared Uzodimma winner of that election.
Right. Now, to some updates on election eve, the Independent National Electoral Commission in Bayelsa State says special arrangements have been made to ensure that persons living with disabilities are not disenfranchised in Saturday's governorship election. Now, the commission disclosed this on the sidelines of last-minute preparation ahead of the polls. Senior correspondent Uche Okoro has details. All right, I guess we will definitely get back to that story.
We'll bring you details of that story subsequently. For more on what INEC is doing ahead of this election in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi State, we have joining us now INEC's Acting Director, Voter Education and Publicity, Mary Nkem, who will walk us through their programs and their plans. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening.
Thank you very much.
You seem quite relaxed, and you know, I hope that's the situation back at the INEC headquarters.
In the 3 states headquarters, yes. We are relaxed because we've done our homework.
And they say that this is a litmus test for INEC 8 months after the general election. What lessons, what big lessons would you say the Commission has learned going into this election?
Thank you very much. You know, by the time we finished the 2023 general election, the Commission went into what we call a post-election review process. And the essence of that post-election review is to weigh what we have done, to see what we have done well, what went wrong, why it went wrong, and to foster a way forward in order to get it done in a better way in the next election. And that is why we have learned our lessons. Recommendations came up from the post-election review because the Commission engaged all stakeholders, including the Road Transport Union, the security, even the officers in the state, that's our electoral officers, and a lot of people, the civil society organizations, the media, the political parties themselves participated in this exercise and came up with a lot of recommendations, which the Commission has long ago sieved, and we are putting into action to see that we have a better outing come this election that is taking place tomorrow.
It's interesting to hear that the Commission, did a critical review of the governorship and presidential elections earlier this year. But then again, oftentimes we hear from the Commission, yes, we've reviewed, we've gone through this and that, we have seen where our shortcomings were, and then they tell us they are 90% ready, 100% ready, and then getting into the day itself, we still see some challenges witnessed. Now, talk to us what INEC is doing differently this time to minimize some of the challenges on the field so that voters can have a seamless experience.
Yes, first and foremost, the Commission realizes that there is need for voters, election to commence as at when due, that is 8:30 on election day. And for that reason, previously we usually deploy to the RAC center, that's the registration area center, which is a camp, a transit camp for our officials. That center is closer to the polling units. So we camp them there so that on election day it will be easy for them to move to the polling units. Usually we move our materials to the local government areas on a Friday. But in these elections, we decided to move materials on Thursday. So all our materials have been moved to the local government areas as at yesterday, Thursday. And as we speak, the RAC center, that is the registration area center, where we house our materials and men, have been activated. The materials are there, the officials are there. As we speak, refresher training is ongoing in all the centers to further, teach the people who are going to handle these beavers. Because we discovered that in the past election, so many of them were having issues with the handling of beavers. And now we have trained and retrained And this evening we are carrying out a refresher training for them as well. And also, the Commission intends to mobilize early to the polling units. Our chairman has repeatedly said that he wants the men and material to be waiting for the voters rather than voters waiting for us. And what does that mean? It means that by tomorrow, all our materials and men should be at the polling unit before 8:30, when voters are expected to come and meet them and commence the voting.
You know, that will be unprecedented because the previous elections we've covered, it's been the other way around where voters are actually waiting for INEC officials. Well, without honesty, we've seen some improvement in some parts of the country over the years. But I want you to speak to the beavers machines that you just talked about. You have trained the ad hoc staff to understand it better.
Very well.
But we're also hearing news of blackout in one of the states, you know, as a result of the strike. How will that work? Because in previous elections, we saw some people coming out with generators to help INEC. How much power does this machine need to work on election day?
The beavers, when it is fully charged, can work for a whole day. It will work from morning till the following morning. So, and these beavers have been fully charged before now. So we don't have issue with the light. But, and also the Commission has procured generating sets, power generating sets in all of our local government areas, in all the RAC centers, that's the registration area centers, where we are camping them. In all our collation centers, we have the generating set. Remember, this is an off-cycle election. So even where there are shortfalls, we always get, you know, support from nearby states to complement what we have.
Interesting. Another aspect is the matter of the result viewing portal. You know, that
the
was
almighty IREV.
It was a subject of controversy in the last election, and we hear that INEC had changed some features with regards to that. Perhaps you talk to us about that, and also what INEC has done to ensure that there is a seamless process with the use of the IREV at the various polling units.
Okay. Now, for the IREV, you know, in the past election, you discovered that you could see some, you know, probably because the handlers were not properly inclined with the use of the beavers. Some of them, were taking like selfies and so on, trying to, you see somebody will take a picture of him or herself and upload and so on. Now the Commission has put a lot of features in that beavers to the extent that there are certain things that it looks for in that form EC8A, which is the polling unit result. And if those features are not there, it will not take a snapshot. So the era of snapping one's face or the leg or the hand and uploading is gone, and probably forever.
You know, many of those results did not come on IREV days after the presidential election. What happened? And what is going to happen this Saturday?
Well, I am not an ICT person, but what we're told that we had glitch. And you know that technology is not, even though our elections are technologically driven somehow, but the technology doesn't conduct the election. It is human beings that handle the technology. The technology is just to facilitate. Now we had issue with the upload of a particular result during the election. And that is why the Commission, in their review, had looked at all of this. And the ICT team have also looked at critically. And that, for that reason, on the 14th of October, the Commission had what we call the mock accreditation across the 3 states, just to test the functionality of the beavers and also upload of polling unit results. We did this in the 3 states, and it will interest you that the Honorable Chairman of the Commission gave an ultimatum that those results from the mock accreditation must be uploaded into our IREV within 2 weeks, 2 hours, sorry, of that, the close of that election. And within 2 hours, if you check the IREV, all the results from that mock accreditation are there. So we are optimistic that, God willing, this election will be different, and all the results, the polling unit results, will be scanned and uploaded in the IREV successfully for Nigerians and anyone in the comfort of their homes to view the proceedings of the polling units.
Well, this is important because this is one of the issues that have brought the image or credibility of the Commission under trial. It's, if if we must agree, because a lot of persons have criticized INEC with regards to that, its transparency because of this matter of IREV. Now, let's perhaps take it further a bit. How can people, because there's also the matter of people being able to access the IREV. There are those who do not understand how they can access it to look through these results. Talk to us about how people can, access IREV.
The way people can access it is to log in to that portal. When they log in, it says self-service portal. It will now take you step by step, just like we had during our CVR. You log in, it takes you step by step, do this, you do this, click this, take you until you get in. And once you get in, you can view any results. You just choose the results you want to view. For instance, I want to view the result of IMO. I just go to click on IMO and I see the result of the polling units that I want to view.
One of the resident electoral commissioners was quoted to have said that the collation will be done electronically. Does IREV have any role to play in the collation process?
Well, IREV is not an electronic collation machine.
Right.
IREV is used to upload polling unit results for people to see. Before the advent of IREV, we had what we call the people's result from EC60E. That result, after election, the presiding officer will enter the results as scored by each political party or their candidates in it. Then they will paste it at the polling unit for anyone to come and see. Then you realize that, at times those results are pasted, somebody can just come and tear it off. Maybe another person wants to come and see, we will not find it. And the commission sat down in its wisdom and decided we can actually do this thing, that apart from pasting the results at the polling unit for all to see, we can also house this result in our portal where anybody, whether you're on transit, you're at home, whatever you are doing, you can get to see the result.
So there's no point where INEC refers to IREV for collation?
No.
Interesting.
IREV, what we do, like what the law says, that when a presiding officer takes, because after uploading the results, the polling unit results on the IREV, the collation officer will now take the form EC8A to the registration area collation center, that's the ward collation center, where you will now submit the results to the ward collation officer. And the law says where there is discrepancy, because before the RA collation officer or the ward collation officer will accept the result, he first of all check, were there overvoting? He will check what were the total number of accredited voters, what were the total number of votes cast. So the total number of accredited voters, the total number of votes cast should never be more than the total number of persons accredited. If that happens, that is an overvoting. So when that has been checked, then he will accept the result and enter it. But in an instance where there are discrepancies, the law says you can now make reference to what is in the BVAS, the scanned picture, yes.
Okay, so INEC is also talking tough, because one issue on the front burner for this election is the matter of security. And INEC has said that where there are cases of violence in certain polling units, it is going to perhaps cancel the result or do something, so to speak. Talk to us with regards to that.
Yes, with the issue of security, definitely when there is violence and, it becomes impossible for us to conduct election, there's no way you can record the result of an election that was never conducted in a particular polling unit. So when that happens, maybe halfway into the election, there's disruption in the process, the election was not concluded, then that election will be cancelled. And we have what we call the margin of lead, results management system. So when we are now we are collating our results, if you discover that when a result is being collected, if the area where results or elections were cancelled, if the total number of PVCs collected in that area are higher than the number, the margin between the two leading teams, then it means that election cannot be said to be conclusive.
Talking about PVCs collected, there's some figures are showing on the screen right now. We're looking at the registered voters in Kogi State, for instance, 1.9 million. And then look at the collected PVCs, 1.8 million. There are just 99,494 uncollected PVCs. From your experience, is that fair? Is that an improvement, you know, from what used to be? Or what do you make of these figures?
Well, I think I would say fair, because number one, you know, election in Nigeria is a matter of choice. You cannot coerce somebody to vote. So the commission, after the 2023 election, went further to announce that PVCs will be collected at these 3 states. And for about a month or 2 months, we went about, you know, issuing PVCs for those who registered and they were unable to collect their PVCs before the 2023 general election. And so they collected. But for this, a number of persons, you all agree with me that between the last registration and the time these PVCs were collected, a lot of issues may have happened. So it might be impossible for us to get 100% collection of PVC. Some people may have died, some people may be hospitalized, some may have, is it Japa or whatever? so many reasons will be accrued to why we cannot get 100%.
But is this also a reflection of voter awareness, voter education, and all of it?
Sure. Well, the Commission is doing its best when it comes to the issue of voter education. Like, take for instance, in this election, we did not look at it that, oh, we have just come out of 2023 election, so we didn't need to sensitize people. Yes. The Commission still put so much in place and even collaborated with other agencies, like the National Orientation Agency, to carry out voter education, both at state level, at local government level.
Indeed.
And we had a lot of grassroots sensitization for voters. We had road shows, we have so many other activities. Jingles were produced and a lot of ways. Even the media assisted us in carrying out voter education, our messages, radio and TV programs and so on, just to enlighten people, sensitize citizens, and to tell them who is supposed to participate in the election, what the activity was, that's the election, who is to participate, when you are to participate, how you ought to participate, and why you need to participate.
This was
in this
after
election.
the 2023 general election.
Just before now.
If you scrutinize the figures, you know, some more, you'll find out that even though we're referred to as the biggest democracy in Africa, in 2023, less than 25%, we recorded less than 5% voter turnout. So it's like 3 out of 10 people who were registered to vote or who had their PVCs actually came out for that election. Is that a concern for INEC if less than 25% of the voting public is actually participating in the exercise?
Well, it is for us, because, and it should be for every Nigerian, because we spend so much money to produce the materials, because our materials are produced according to the number of the registered voters in a particular location. And after producing these materials, and you discover that several percentage of them are not used, it looks like sort of like a waste. But the issue of mobilization of voters does not rest on INEC. The political parties and other agencies of government have the role of mobilizing voters to vote. What the law says is that commission can conduct voter and civic education. So we are not obliged to to mobilize voters. So the political parties who are the primary beneficiaries of the outcome of this election ought to mobilize citizens to vote for them. But in that, INEC still go about to...
You don't see it as an indictment on the credibility of INEC, because some would say if they believe that their votes will count.
Yeah, that was where I was going, because that's another aspect with regards to this election, neutrality of INEC, the credibility of INEC, the transparency of INEC. These are the issues that a majority of Nigerians are raising.
INEC is transparent, INEC is neutral. I would like to state here that election is a multi-stakeholder affair. You talked of the issue of maybe late arrival of materials. As we speak, like I said, our men and material are already at the transit camp that is the registration area center, closer to the polling unit. And by tomorrow, before 5 a.m., they will be up, getting ready. But at times, what happens when they are ready, the materials are there, the men are ready, and the vehicles to convey them are not there.
I was going to ask the question
now,
because
the commission
the last time there was an issue of, oh, we haven't been paid, and so we cannot move. Exactly. Are we going to have that kind of situation that has been sorted?
Them. It will interest you to know that there are at times that you can even pay somebody and you may not see them. So now the commission is paying. What commission does is pay 50%. And after you have completed the exercise, you collect your balance.
So the commission was paying 100% before?
No. You pay 50%.
Okay.
And after the exercise, then you come and collect your balance. So the commission pays. But you know, we are different. The way we look at these things, we look at them differently. Some people are highly committed, while some are not.
Hopefully they don't run away this time. There were concerns about security in the previous election.
Yes.
That might also be a reason.
Another issue.
But for each state, we seem to have 10 resident electoral commissioners. Is that right?
Well, nine resident, nine.
Yes, now nine
plus
the
supporting resident electoral commissioners.
You have 9 supporting strikers. Isn't that a kill? I mean, 10 people monitoring the same election. Are their roles, clearly stated? What are they doing?
That is to show you the importance the commission places in this election. You know, it's an off-season election.
Right.
Other stakeholders will mobilize massively to the state. So INEC too is mobilizing. We have 9 resident electoral commissioners per state, excluding the main resident electoral commissioner, 9 supporting commissioners. We also have national commissioners, our honorable national commissioners, who are members of the commission deployed to this state. And the essence of doing that is just to further scrutinize this system to ensure that these things work. I'm sure these resident electoral commissioners will be distributed to the various senatorial districts, right, so that they'll be able to, give the push and where necessary intervene to ensure that we mobilize early to polling unit. That is what the plan of the commission. We want to mobilize early to the polling unit so that when the voters come, most times there's agitation when voters get to the polling unit and the men and materials are not there. That's where they will be issued. But when they come and meet the men and, they're able to vote peacefully and go to their homes, I don't think there will be any issue.
Now, the INEC chair was speaking with the staff of the commission, telling them that they have to ensure that they do due diligence, carry out their duties, transparently. And I'm wondering how expedient is this message to the staffers? One would expect that they should know what to do in the first place.
Well, they should know what to do, but it's always good to reiterate, emphasize on the importance to do that. The chairman has said any staff that misbehave will not be handled.
Will not be spared.
Not at all. So, and in this election, it will also interest you to know that because it's an off-season election, we are mobilizing more of our staff. For instance, in the area of the supervising presiding officers, those who distribute materials to the presiding officers and so on, most of them are INEC officials, so that they can be held accountable if anything goes wrong. So INEC is serious.
How many have been held accountable before?
Well, I can't stay and count the number, but I know that some people who have erred have faced the law.
Because the narrative is that the reason why we keep having electoral malpractices is because we've not had a handful of people who have been punished when they do wrong. Recall what happened, one of those states, during the governorship election where a particular resident electoral commissioner, took upon himself to, announce results and all of that.
That was Adamawa.
So where is he now?
Fantastic question. We have to go now, but quickly, you have 10 recs to spare. So why are you finding it difficult to redeploy in cases where there have been protests in 1 minute? I'm sure you followed protests where they said recs should be replaced.
Yes,
well,
redeployed.
You see, the commission, I'm sure even in your organization, you won't be listening to rumors.
Yes,
if I come now and I carry placard and I say, oh, you should be removed, I'm sure your organization will
some
not
will say
just do
there's
that.
no smoke without a fire.
They must
Some will
see
say there's no smoke
evidence.
without a fire.
So if anybody has evidence, bring their evidence.
All right.
Before us, then we do. Then I also want to say that the Honorable Chairman has categorically stated, INEC is not a political party. INEC does not have any candidates in the election. So the outcome of this election is dependent on the registered voters in that particular area. So I want to encourage every registered voter with his or her PVC to come out tomorrow and exercise their franchise. Vote for the candidate of their choice.
Right.
Acting Director of Voter Education and Publicity, INEC, Mary Kemp, thank you so much for talking
Thank you for
to
your
us.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After this break, we'll be joined by member of the Peace Accord Committee, Bishop Matthew Kukah. Do stay with us.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
School, I need students, but I need teachers.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything. If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet sour taste for all their demands. A familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there to x-ray all sides, from the east to the west, north and south. Community Forum will examine the oddities and challenges to economic development, as well as issues yearning for government intervention. Watch fresh episodes of Community Forum on Sundays by 9:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
While we are following very closely the off-cycle elections scheduled for Saturday in Imo,
that's tomorrow, actually,
and Kogi State.
So we are counting in
less
hours
than 12
now.
hours.
Right.
All of the hard work on the side of the political stakeholders. You know, usually before election they say some people are the pretenders, the other people are the contenders. It is only after a result you can tell.
Are you determining who is who?
Who the real contenders are.
The electorate are to decide.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow.
But 13 political parties have signed a peace accord to ensure a peaceful governorship election in Bayelsa State.
And this is in the build-up to the November the 11th governorship election in the state. The convener of the National Peace Committee, Bishop Matthew Kukah, is emphatic on the need to have a peaceful election. While the 13 chairmen and their candidates took turns signing the peace accord as commitment to a peaceful election in the state, one candidate, however, was absent at the peace accord signing. Well, joining us now is the convener, Peace Accord Committee, Bishop Matthew Kukah. Bishop, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you very much. The National Peace Committee, not the Peace Accord Committee.
All right, National Peace Committee, right. Now, Bishop, so many persons have been speaking with regards to the signing of this peace bond by political parties ahead the election, and they have said that not much change whenever they sign this peace accord. Talk to us really the essence of this peace accord and why it has not really been achieving the results that it is supposed to achieve in the first place.
Well, you made the accusation, so you reframe your question. I don't know what you mean by it has not been achieving the results.
Because there are the issues, people talk about the fact that the commitment of political parties to the signing of this accord is what is brought to question when they see what happened during election. We still see violence marring the election over the years, despite they signing this accord.
Well, would it have been better if they didn't sign the accord? I think the first thing to understand is that what we have is a moral voice. And the question to ask is, what if they didn't sign the peace accord at all? And percentage-wise, I think if you want to be fair to the political class itself, the volume of infractions and so on is, in many places is not sufficiently significant. But even more importantly, these are law and order issues. So, and there are procedures and processes for prosecuting people who fall foul of the law. So I think that's where you should be looking, as opposed to saying that we've done this and nothing has happened. It's not, the Peace Committee has a moral voice, and it exhorts people to be of good behavior and to obey the law. But so when you fall foul of the law, there are procedures for dealing with that. So I don't think you should blame the Peace Committee, imply that its work is not significant, because the opposite is the case.
Yeah, perhaps you should help us paint a better picture as a stakeholder in this business, what you've discovered and monitored over the years. How peaceful have our elections become, having done this over the years, Bishop?
I think we need to be fair to ourselves. We are relatively new in this game of politics. We're very new in this game of democracy. And like everywhere else in the world, even those democracies that have been settled more or less, due to the amount of time that they've been on the ground, whether it's Europe or America, you're stretching between 100 and 200 years. People are still grappling with this problem because every generation faces its own challenges. I think significantly, if we do a little bit of a political analysis of where we have come from the 60s, the nature of the criminal actions that were perpetrated during elections, there have been significant changes. We are on a path to hopefully improving the confidence of the electorate, and only science can do this. Anything that you are subject to human manipulation will always, you will face this kind of consequences. So I think that INEC has done and continues to do, to make its own effort to improve on the quality of the elections. And in a sense, the elections on Saturday should be a test run of the things that we should expect. And we are hopeful that the issues we contested in the last elections in May will not repeat themselves in this off-cycle election, because, first of all, we are dealing with only 3 states. Secondly, INEC would have had enough time, to get its act together. So we are hoping that, every election will be a lesson, and we'll learn the lessons and eliminate the things we can eliminate, so that it's a pretty long journey. But I'm sure we are going to get to a point in which elections in Nigeria will be less violent, less chaotic. You must also address the issue of the quality of infrastructure that we have. And then the fact that you're dealing with a largely illiterate population that in very many cases cannot access or doesn't have the amount of knowledge that is required for people to conform to the laws and regulations that guide elections.
Well, I'm sure quite a number of Nigerians will share in your optimism, and it's why we've seen a lot of anticipation for the off-cycle election. But you were in Bayelsa yourself a few days ago. What's your assessment of the readiness of stakeholders and the body language you read in the room?
This is, first of all, I think for us as ordinary Nigerians, civil society groups, indeed, the length and breadth of Nigeria. I think we must take responsibility for a lot of the things that have gone wrong. And what I mean is, after we cast these elections, after people are sworn in, the governors, people tend to just create barricades around government house and so on. And the populace largely just looks on in abeyance. As you can see, even amidst the difficulties of what is happening in Gaza, people are still out on the streets. They are demonstrating. It is the business of politicians to make promises that they probably don't have the intention of keeping. It is our responsibility to hold their feet to the fire constantly, reminding them of the promises that they made. So I think it is not the fault of politicians that they are getting away with so much, because Nigerians don't like to engage the political process. So we don't wait until it is time for election before we start running up and down again, repeating the same thing, and everything is captured in just 2 or 3 days. So we need to improve the quality of our interrogation of the political structure. And this is the job for the media, for you and I. And the media in Nigeria is doing quite an excellent job. But it's also the work of civil society. It's the work of other non-state actors. So we have a responsibility, because that is how politics and democracy can be strengthened. As people, it's like pedaling a bicycle. When you stop, you stop. So we're not waiting for INEC to do only the thing that INEC has to do. We as citizens must also be responsible for getting value for our money.
Right. We have been seeing critical stakeholders that you have just mentioned, talking about civil society, talking about yourself, speaking, to the issues, speaking, critically about the challenges we are facing as a democracy. We have seen the people also try to hold the political elite to account, but there seemed to be a missing gap. What could that be, that we are not getting to that point where we begin to see some level of change in our democratic process and our democracy?
Look, I've said it severally. After elections, once people have been sworn in, a vital ingredient of democracy is the streets. We must be ready and willing, to go out and protest against bad roads, against lack of water, against health conditions, against the situation that we are in. Look around and look at the quality of schools. I went to a community, some time ago, and they were telling me they have a local government chairman that they see only once in 2 months, and that he comes in and spends 2 hours and then vanishes. Now, you don't need the governor, you don't need the president to tell you that if you elected this man to represent you or woman to represent your community, and is an absentee person, and only comes, one day when he comes, let the community just block the road and tell the man, you are not going anywhere. Now, once you create that kind of a scenario in one local government, it will naturally have a knock-on effect because people will then learn to behave. We must learn to, let me use the word, to harass those into whose hands we have entrusted the resources of our country. So a situation in which, as I said, we cast our votes, and we simply, every time a governor is coming, we all go out dancing. Every time a local government chairman is coming, we all go out dancing, and that's all we can do. Then we get what we deserve. So I think we need to improve. Oh, look, even in our traditional societies, we knew how to disgrace people now. And if a man or a woman who has been elected to public office is not performing, it doesn't matter who they are. In Britain, they used to stone politicians with eggs. In other places, I'm not agitating violence. But look, we're even living in a violent environment. But we cannot continue like this. So we must find a way of penalizing our politicians rather than simply behave. Because look, politics is the only thing that there is no practice for. We've not developed a political culture in Nigeria. Okay? There are no people who will tell you, oh, we've come so far by following X, Y, Z. You just hear people's names come out. It is the governor that decides which of his boys is going to make governor. And you can't run a country like that. There must be a way that ordinary people can know that where this man is worthy or woman can represent us because we have seen a record of what they've been able to do. So we are letting our politicians get away with so much. So we are not as innocent as we want to look. We have to devise various strategies of engaging the political class, because without this engagement, people will not improve the quality of what they are doing. They are going to continue to treat us as, you know, they come to us, they throw a little bit of a few pennies here and there, and then we scamper around, and then they go back to where they've come from. But really, if you are representing us as a senator, if you are representing us in the federal house or in the state house, and we don't see you, we should be able to locate where you are and go to ask you whether you are still representing us or not. By the time you've done this thing to 1 or 2 people, they will learn their lesson.
You know, Bishop, many of the younger generation will be jealous of how much fire you still have in your bone, even as a septuagenarian, and you know how much of human rights you're still quite passionate about. Right. But they say that it is a strategy on the part of the political elite to keep the people poor, so that they don't have as much passion as you have right now to discuss these issues and to also ask questions. It's why vote buying is a thing during our election. What do you consider is the solution here? You talked about a local government chairman. The ordinary or the average politician as we know it will dole out cash when it comes into the neighborhood. That's the language that many of the people you're talking about understand.
Well, look, I mean, the percentage of people who are educated in Nigeria compared to those with functional education, this is one of the biggest problems in the country. And those of us on whom the community has invested resources to give us education, by whatever means, we have an obligation to our people. I say the things I say and I do the things I do precisely because, one, I know we can do better. And two, as a priest, I have an idea about what God's intentions are for ordinary human beings, irrespective of social class or irrespective of where they come from. I have an idea about how resources can best be managed. So, for example, I mean, we cannot go on like this. We cannot say, for example, amidst all these difficulties and challenges, you're hearing the conversation going on in the National Assembly about the amount of resources that are going to be spent on buying cars for people. Where are these people going to go to? Then after 4 years, you're going to spend the same resources. Now, if we are spending so much, there must be evidence of what we are getting back. So, indeed, I think it is the responsibility of those of us who are educated, but unfortunately for us in Nigeria, a lot of the elites have decided on strategies of compromise. So we know that Nigeria is corrupt. And maybe we quarrel over this thing. That is largely because we just want a bit of the, we want a part of the corruption. So the average person struggling to be a minister or struggling to get into power, people know, and I'm sorry, I'm adjusting this earpiece, but people know that they are probably just jealous of those who are already there. Now, we cannot have a country in which we are measuring our progress by the number of people who are enjoying on our behalf. Right. So I think that the young people who have a future must also become sufficiently, anger is let me put it, is a right. The only thing is what to do with the anger, and you can transform it into righteous indignation by saying, this is not the way I should be living in a country that is so richly endowed as Nigeria is. Right. So, and then of course, the other thing is that Mrs. Ngozi helped us when she decided on this strategy of making the local government funds, how much it was going to every local government. She made it available, and I think that information is still available. Unfortunately for us, people are not interested in finding this information, because if we, the elite, have an idea about what is coming into our local government councils, we also have an obligation.
Bishop, I need to quickly ask this question, interrogate, because our time is, for this interview is wrapping up quickly. So I want to quickly ask this question about the changing dynamics of our politics. What we see now is identity politics and violence being said to dominate our political landscape. I wonder how concerning this is for you, because yes, you have touched on this, but the solutions we are looking at to addressing these issues, are we tailoring it appropriately to addressing them?
Well, identity politics only manifests itself. It's a function of the poverty of the environment around which we are living. And the Nigerian political elite has not helped matters. It has created and given us the impression that I will have the right as a governor to decide that my village, which is in the middle of nowhere, a university is sited in my village, or a college is sited in my village, or the road is built to my village. So people become conscious of identity, not because identity is not important. Identity is a tool of transaction. But if you create the impression that you have done this to your community and people can notice a measurable change in the quality of life of people from your community, there's no reason why they would not be asking themselves, why are we where we are? There is a theory in sociology called the theory of relative deprivation. That is, people compare their conditions. And unless I have a reason for being poor, I must ask myself. So somebody will tell you, if you are giving jobs only to people of a particular religion, or a particular tribe, or even a particular gender, others are bound to ask themselves the questions. So identity politics have become salient precisely because the politicians themselves have made identity politics what it is today, because of the nature of the poverty around which we live.
It's amazing the way you've put it, Bishop. Nobody ever made anger look so cool. You said anger is a right, and then there's need for righteous indignation. Good place to leave it. Bishop Matthew Kukah is the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese and convener, National Peace Committee. Thank you for talking to us on the program tonight.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
We're back with more after this break. Stay with us.
It is less than 72 hours.
Yes, sir. I don't give I'm just bringing out once with my
In on the action with Betano, your exciting destination for thrilling sports betting. Enjoy an award-winning experience with amazing betting options, cash out, and missions, as well as other features. Join now and get a welcome bonus of up to 100,000 Naira. betano.ng. The game starts now.
Like many things in life, making great music is a process. And a key part of that is the right data and the data that helps you understand what needs to be done and how to do it and what sound will connect with listeners.
No, bring it up, bring it up. Let's go right see.
Whatever aspect of life you're into, enjoy the journey. 9 Mobile's got you covered.
Dial *301# now.
9 Mobile.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Are you worried about the safety and security of your home at night? Do you wish to know when intruders come close to your home? Or do you want to protect what matters to your family from anywhere at any time? What if there was a convenient, affordable way to keep surveillance on your home without having to worry about wires, installations, or heavy light bills? Introducing the incredible Sidebulb HD Cam, the robotic 360-degree two-way torque camera with action tracking technology. Sidebulb is the ultimate solution for discreet and powerful surveillance. It's so easy to install, and the app lets you rotate and view the video from your Sidebulb in real time from any smartphone. You can drop in from anywhere and check in with our two-way talk technology. Talk and listen at the same time.
Hello, Mommy.
Hey, sweetie. I'll be home soon, okay?
Sidebulb's advanced tracking technology locks onto motion and tracks in real time. Set the siren alarm to go up when motion is detected and keep intruders away. Check in on your home while you're away. Make sure the kids got home safely. Interact with visitors at your doorway or surprise a trespasser.
Surveillance in a light bulb. I was amazed at the 360-degree rotation. It gives me a full view of my house and I can check in on my kids. The footage is clear and the night vision is so impressive. The best part, I can add multiple side bulbs for a complete home surveillance.
I really like my Sidebulb. It's so easy to use. I just downloaded the app, I put it on my phone, and I add it up and run in about 3 minutes.
Traditional surveillance systems are bulky, expensive, and difficult to install. But with Sidebulb HD Cam's innovative design, installation is as fast as changing a light bulb, and it's made for indoor and outdoor surveillance.
The Sidebulb HD Cam is now available in Nigeria, exclusively from ShopX TV. You could be paying up to 200,000 naira for an indoor and outdoor security system that doesn't fully secure your home. But call the number on your screen now and get the Sidebulb HD Cam for just 45,000 naira and get peace of mind. And that's not all. If you call now, we'll give you an extra Sidebulb at no extra cost. That means you buy one and get one free for 45,000 naira. But wait, there's more. If you order now, you get the Sidebulb HD Cam delivered to you for free wherever you are in Nigeria. So, call the number on your screen now or visit our website to place your order while stock lasts. The proceeding was a paid presentation brought to you by ShopX TV.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking. At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with.
Well, the off-cycle governorship election in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo are just a few hours away.
Indeed.
And then we're monitoring closely what the developments are. We're joined now by ACP Muiwa Adejobi, the police force PRO. Right. He joins us live from Imo. Thank you for joining this conversation. You've been talking a lot about how prepared police is for this election. Talk to us about what is unique about the security arrangement this time compared to what we had earlier in February.
Thank you. As you know, that election is a process. It's not a day thing. We believe so much in the principles of the 5 P's. Proper planning prevents poor performance. One thing that is unique is the ability of the Inspector General of Police to start preparation for these off-cycle elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo State on time. We had adequate training for the men that have been deployed to carry out election security management in these states. Aside from that, the IGP started on time to have threat analysis in the affected states. We have threat analysis on time, and we have been working in line with what we have from the threat analysis from the 3 states. Not only that, we are not relying on what we got like 2-3 months ago. These threat analyses have been subjected to reviews and reviews and reviews for us to be in tune with current happenings in these states. This has formed the basis for our adequate deployment in these 3 states accordingly. And of course, it's on that premise the IGP has done deployment of very senior police officers to head security, election security management in these states. In Kogi State, we have the DIG in charge of Department of Force Intelligence, DIG Abu Soni, to manage election security in Kogi. We have DIG Frank Emeka Mba, MNI, to be in charge of Imo State, and DIG Daniel Shokari Pedro, MNI, to be in charge of Bayelsa State. One thing is that these DIGs, apart from the one in Kogi, they are from this region. They are the coordinating DIGs in their respective regions. Apart from the North Central, where Kogi falls, and headed by DIG Abu Soni, the DIG from North Central is the DIG Operations, who coordinates the general security in the 3 states. So that's why DIG Abu Soni, who has been a strong and experienced election security manager, has been deployed to Kogi State to manage Kogi State. So our deployment has been based on our threat analysis. We know where to deploy heavily. We know where to deploy lightly. We know how to deploy because of the availability of these analyses from various states. So we have done what we should. The INEC is doing what it should. The call now is for those concerned, other stakeholders, political parties, and us candidates to do what is right. And to do what is right from them is not to talk to their supporters, to talk to their followers, to do the right thing, and play the game according to the rule of...
As much as the force has done what it needs to do, the matter of neutrality has also come to the fore with regards to how they perform their duties on the day of election. This is also a major concern for a majority of electorates. So talk to us about this, because a lot of persons say that this matter of we have prepared ourselves for the election day is a conversation they hear on a regular basis, but on the day of election, they see something totally different.
Yes, we are mindful of that. We have been having reports of certain issues, particularly pre-election incidences in some areas, in some states. And this has formed the basis for the Inspector General of Police to visit some of these states. The IGP was in Kogi, was in Bayelsa, and was in Imo State. And the message was to assure people of these states of our neutrality. He said this on behalf of members of ISIS, because the IGP is a co-chairman of ICES, that is Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. So he spoke boldly to assure people of neutrality, professionalism, and what the IGP believes so much that it's time for us to bridge the gap between us and members of the public, particularly as regards to our role, our primacy when it comes to policing electoral process in this country. We have a lot of role to play, and we need to build that trust in us. We need to build that trust and bridge the gap between us and the people, so that they would know that the police is ready to do the right thing this time around, and to review all our strategies in making sure we have free, fair, credible, and more secured electoral process in Nigeria. Don't forget, the IGP's vision statement is to have that police institution that is professionally competent, rule of law compliant, people's friendly and service driven. You can't have all these things with bad image and people's inability to have trust in you. If you want to achieve the vision statement of the IGP under its leadership, we need to make sure we restore the lost trust in the minds of Nigerians, in the minds of people who are in contact with the police on a regular basis. So for this election, we are going to be 100% neutral.
All right.
We are going to be apolitical. Police officers are not members of any political party. We are to protect electoral process, protect stakeholders, protect those that will be very, very active in this process. That is the job. And our men have been told they know what they are going to do. But in case we have any deviants, we have rolled out numbers of senior officers who to contact. We can't rule out. We may have a deviant who want to misbehave, but I can assure you, any security operative, starting from the police, who misbehaves tomorrow in Kogi, Bayelsa, or Imo State, will find himself to blame. And that is the message from the office of the IGP.
Okay, SCP, let's quickly put you on hold while we cross over to Bayelsa, where we have our correspondent Sarah Ayuku standing by to bring us up to speed with developments leading up to the election tomorrow. Sarah, talk to us. What's the mood like leading up to elections? What are the people saying with regards to the election tomorrow?
Veronica, Nifem, it's good to see you, even if I cannot see you at this point. But then the people are pretty happy that they will be electing the 6th governor of Bayelsa State. We're hoping to see a little over 1 million voters, come out to the polls. We're talking about 2,242 votes since polling units, since we're not going to be having. There were 0 counts, 0 votes at 2 polling units. So 2 polling units won't be having votes at those polling units. So we're expecting to see 1 million people go out to cast their ballot and decide out of the 16 candidates who they want to steer the affairs of the state for the next 4 years. So pretty interesting atmosphere. People are pumped up. It's the way they campaign, which is door to door, talking to themselves, because that Bayelsa State is very peculiar. We're not looking at people from different origins, or different tribal tribe. We're looking at the Ijaw nation now, and most of the people that you see as the 16 candidates are more like they themselves from way. So it's pretty interesting that you have these 16 candidates, of course, just to become the governor of the state. I also have someone who has covered this election for 3 times. Now, this will be his 3rd time coming to Bayelsa State to cover the elections. Uche, it's good to see you. Of course, we've been doing this since yesterday rather, just to ensure that we give people the situation report here in Bayelsa State. A lot of persons are interested as to which local governments will be the decider, even though we know that these local governments are also the flashpoints.
Well, in Bayelsa State, we know that we have about 1,006,800 registered voters. Talking about local governments that will be the decider, we know that, of course, everybody knows the Yenegua local government
the state
area.
capital.
Yeah, Yenegua has the lion's share of voters in Bayelsa State. That's, by the way, this is the information booklet, the official information booklet of the 23 governorship election in Bayelsa State, and according to the information here, it says that Yenegua local government has 218,000 394 registered voters. That's the majority, the lion's share of the registered voters in the state. And that's followed by what I see here, Southern Niger, of course, Southern Niger, 184,401. And then we go to Sagbama and then Ekirimo. So those are the top 4 local government areas in Bayelsa State that would eventually swing the votes when at the point of collation. So that's the situation. We expect that it's going to be a very tight race in Bayelsa State as usual. In 2018 it was, 2019 it was. I don't expect anything different. But you, Sarah, I hear you talking about this is my 3rd time. You're beginning to you sound like I should be feeling like an indigene.
Of course, you are. Like Uche knows practically everywhere. You know, tell you how this person or the candidates, how the candidates will fare during elections. But Uche, it's interesting to see how the police had highlighted the number of personnel they were deploying for the elections. They had said that 27,000. That's aside the other sister agencies. We're talking about the NSCDC, the other paramilitary agencies that we're going to be expecting for this election. But something very profound that the DIG had said is that any officer found culpable of or any electoral offenses will be arrested, and if found guilty will be dismissed.
Interesting, tough words from the police there. But you know, the thing is, a lot of times, a lot of these rhetorics end up as just rhetorics. In my experience covering election, I can't point to any security officer. I can't point to any security officer who has been named, blamed, or shamed, or actually decisive action taken against them for electoral malpractices. This is not to say that there have been videos. I'm talking about reflecting on other states. We've seen pictorial evidences, videos, pictures. A lot of all these materials have gone viral where we see police officers or other security personnel allegedly involved in electoral malpractice. But it has ended just at that level, okay? So I think that it is not enough for the police to come out in Bayelsa once again to say the same thing that we have heard over and over again. We expect that they would match words with action, because it is a very valid concern in Bayelsa State that security agencies may play some form of partisan role in favor of one candidate or the other. So we expect that the police will take decisive action, match words with action, to punish its officers that are found culpable.
Veronica, very interesting. Something that the DIG had said today, just a couple of hours ago, while it gave a last-minute briefing, because we had a bit of protest for and against the removal of the Commissioner of Police here in the state. And the DIG had said that politicians have employed a new tactic, which is employing fake policemen, and they are going to be out tomorrow to ensure that they root out the fake policemen that are on the streets, posing as policemen, of course. Veronica.
All right, Sarah. In fact, it's interesting to know that this matter of neutrality and being non-partisan was something we took up with the ACP, and he said that they have promised to be non-partisan as much as possible across the 3 states. But we still have him on standby.
Absolutely, and he's also saying that they will punish any of the officers who...
Erring officers,
yes, exactly. Force PRO standing by. ACP Muyiwa Adejobi, thank you for staying the course on the program. So we've seen a massive deployment of police in this election, and you've also talked about why that is so, that the police has been able to identify where the key areas are. But what's the strategy to not overwhelm the electorate? Because this has also played a prominent role in voter apathy. What's being done to ensure that, because you look at the figures, ACP, in a particular state, there are about 40,000 policemen, there are 24,000, in Imo, I guess.
And then 27 in Bayelsa.
And that's just the police. Add that to the military personnel and other security agencies. What's the strategy to make this as friendly as possible?
We have made them to understand that our deployment, our presence, whatever the number is, I don't know where you got your numbers from. The headquarters has not rolled out any number. We don't always give out numbers of personnel on the field. It's unprofessional. But be that as it may, our presence is not to intimidate anybody. When the IGP visited these states, Kogi, Bayelsa, Imo, he made it clear that our presence, that the policemen and other security agencies will be heavily deployed. because we are leveraging on the fact that these elections are off-cycle elections, just affecting three states. So we have the ability to mobilize men from other states to augment what we have. We have the privilege of mobilizing logistics from other states to support our resources in these 3 states. So people affected in these 3 states should not be afraid of our presence. We are for peace, not for pieces. We are to protect them, protect the electoral process, protect the environment entirely. Don't forget electoral duty for police is just secondary assignment. Our primary assignment to protect lives and property, and we will not leave this undone. While we are protecting the electoral process, we still continue to do our primary assignments, protection of lives and property, maintenance of law and order. So we have many roles to play to police democracy in Nigeria, as is applicable to all other democratic nations across the globe. So the Nigeria Police Force has made it known that our presence is not to affect anybody. You have seen the deployment of military, you have seen the deployment of other members of ISIS, aside from those are not allowed to join us. And these are quasi security outfits or state-owned, state-established and owned security outfits like Vigilante, ABBIAGO, and all of them. They are not allowed to join this special operation. Those you are going to see on the field are members of ISIS, the armed forces, the police, immigration service, customs service, correctional service, Federal Road Safety Corps, NSCDC, even the FCC is part of ISIS now because of vote buying and the likes. So we are mindful of the fact that it's only the members of ISIS that will be on the field. Despite that, we have told our people, we have assured them that people should come out en masse to exercise their franchise tomorrow in all these 3 states. We are for peace. Our deployment is to protect them. But when they come across our men, they need to respect them. I am sure they are going to respect them as well. Particularly the issue of restriction of movement. There is no how they would not disturb your movement if you are not allowed to move. We have 3 rings of formation, 3 rings of security arrangement. The inner ring is for those that will be deployed to polling booths who are not armed in any way. The middle ring are those that are armed, and we embark on motorized patrol to give cover to those at various polling units in case there's any emergency. Then the outermost will be for restriction of movement. Military men, civil defense, and PMF operatives, they are going to take routes in and out of these 3 states. Please, when you get there, if there's need for you to move, your job is to explain to them and convince them why your movement. Don't be confrontational. Talk to them politely. They are going to consider you. At that point in time, it's discretional. If they don't allow you to go, there's nothing you can do. Because as from this night, 12:01 a.m. to 6 p.m. of tomorrow, 11 November 2023, there will not be movement in these 3 states, Bayelsa and Imo states. I want to appeal to neighboring states and those who may want to transverse through these states to be aware of this restriction of movement order. Definitely, it's going to affect you. Get to this point. So you need to plan ahead on how you're going to move so that you not be a victim of this unnecessary gridlock while elections are on in these 3 states.
Right. Quite very clear for PRO. We're hoping that there will come a time in our country where we won't have to shut down the whole state because we're holding an election. But kindly hold that thought. We just want you to, also listen to what's happening in Lokoja, where our senior correspondent Ayodele Uzugbako is standing by. Ayo, in a few hours, we understand that there will be curfew between midnight and 6 p.m. What's the situation report where you are now?
Yes, thank you, Bifemi. That's always the standard practice, 24 hours to that election, and less than 24 hours. So from 12 midnight now to 6 p.m. tomorrow, there's going to be the lockdown of Kogi State as is our usual practice in Nigeria. Yes, listen to Mr. Muyiwa Adejobi, the first PRO. It's all looking good. 44,000 policemen drafted. The additional 9 resident electoral commissioners have been brought in here, and I just from Jigawa State, he told me that he will be handling 2 local governments. So when you look at the proportion, that means 2 local governments for each of the resident electoral commission per 2 local governments. So in all, 21 local governments. Maybe we have to have how many people drafted? Maybe 10 resident electoral commissioners in all will all be manning this. But a major concern here is that people are talking about a repeat of what happened 4 years ago. Now, when you look at the statistics, when you look at the indices, the percentage is not encouraging. The turnout is not encouraging. Now, what happened 4 years ago, now people are looking at it through what happened during the presidential election in 2023 and the State House of Assembly election. This state recorded 4 years ago, they recorded a turnout of 37%. It went down to 5% during the presidential election, this presidential election. And a lot of people are saying that, yes, when you look at the number of people that turned out to collect their PVC, yes, the collection of PVC is different from the number of registered voters. Recorded 94% in PVC collection. Now, if we are talking about 94% in PVC collection, we expect that the turnout should be massive. 1.9 million registered voters we have in Kogi State, and they put the average to 900,000 plus men, 900,000 female, and they're saying that, look, we expect at least a minimum of 50% to be able to certify this election as something that is encouraging, that the turnout is okay. So if they did 35% in February, if tomorrow we have 50%, if the security, if they actually do their job in restoring confidence of the people across the 21 local government, because the build up to this election has been easy. The rhetoric from political parties, from the major political parties, has not been easy. When you look at the figures, it's one of the flashpoints for election violence, Kogi State. So a lot of people are saying the main concern is not even about the Independent Electoral Commission. It's going to be about security, and security of lives and properties. I have an independent observer with me here, Nelson Ekujumi. Nelson, how are you?
I'm fine. Good evening. Good evening to our viewers.
So from what you've seen on ground, what will be the major concern tomorrow?
Well, for me, I think the major concern will be, like I rightly said, the issue of security, because I've also gone around the state and I've talked to some people. The level of violence that predated the election proper, the electioneering process, there were pockets of violence here and there, and people are only praying that, they hope we won't have a repeat of what happened 4 years ago. But looking at the security turnouts, I must confess, we've had a massive, deployment of security everywhere. As that yesterday, even till this afternoon, you always hear siren of security men patrolling the streets, and I think that should
trend for
yes,
this will still creep up.
Well, we hope that the security agencies, because
they will tell you they've drafted helicopters.
Yes, we've seen helicopters flying over the air. But one thing I can assure you, or I can, I have this confidence about, is that early deployment security apparatus, because I recognize that for this election, the security apparatus came in very early, and they've been drafted since about 2 days ago, which means the security must have done, their cross checks, and they have identified some spots that could be, outbreaks for violence. So we must be expectant, because going around the state, one could see that there's relative calm. People are expecting that tomorrow we'll have elections. People are even looking at, by 3-4 p.m. that everywhere life will return to normal, because there's a little bit of tension, in the air. So, but
turnout.
No, but you must also recognize that
massive.
I expect the turnout not to be, lower than what we had in the presidential, in view of the fact that, like we say, every politics is local. The local factors that is part of the reasons driving the electorate, as well as that has driven the campaigns, will also propel some of the voters to come out there to cast their vote. So I don't expect the turnout to be less than maybe 30-35%. So, because if you look at these elections in this country, except during the days of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, where we had about 90% or 100% turnout, and we know what happened. It was because of the electoral malpractice that we know that was the order of the day. But since the introduction of the e-card reader and with the introduction of the VIVAS, you can no longer vote by proxy. You can see that their election turnout since the introduction of the technological devices by INEC have resulted in a downward, turnout, which means before, there were lots of instances where people who were not on, we had election, disputes in this country where it was discovered that a Martin Luther King voted in Nigeria, a Nelson Mandela voted in Nigeria, and we know what obtained them. But now these days with this new with this electronic device, whereby if it does not authenticate you by the fingerprint or by facial recognition, you are not allowed to vote. It has led to a reduction in the voters' turnout. But be that as it may, because of the number of PVCs that have been collected, one expects
94%.
94%. One expects that for us to beat our chest and say we have done well, at least we must be looking at doing an A. And in any exam, for you to score an A means you must have scored 70, and above.
Okay, I want to thank you, Nelson Ekujimi. So the litmus test is going to be for the security agencies to be able to boost the confidence of residents of Kogi State to be able to come out in mass, so that the number of 94% return rate for the permanent voter card would not be in vain. And a lot of people are observing that, look, for them to have a pass mark, we should be able to have like 50%. If you have 50%, then we're good. And talking about the Independent National Electoral Commission, they said they've added additional 900 BVAS machines across the 21 local governments in case this have an ECOP in any of the 3,026 polling units.
Indeed. 50% is very ambitious, AY. We spoke with an acting director of INEC recently who mentioned that you have to consider that some people have jackpot, and that would also affect the figures. But please stand by, Ayo. We'll be back with you and also be back with the ACP after this break. Do stay with us, everyone.
Bye, Mom.
He's going to play in this weather? Why did you let him go? He might fall ill.
And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with germ defense gives you protection. Rainy season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's germ defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
I wish to welcome you all to the Global Technology Africa Summit.
Technology itself is a massive driver of access to services that, frankly, most of the governments in Africa can't build infrastructure fast enough to meet.
We have to be a lot more conscious of data storage, data ownership, and things like that.
Talent is the human component of technology.
Basically, the Startup Act is a framework and an umbrella. And I think each state needs to look at what exists, how do we capitalize on what the Startup Act is, and where are our own gaps.
The platform for consumption of entertainment content is translating from linear TV or traditional TV as we know it to the screens of those mobile devices.
We're working with NITA to bring them to the U.S. to talk about how we work together on this new challenge of AI.
We have to create a new community.
We look forward to having you in GTA come November. Thank you very much.
Get in on the action with Betano, your exciting destination for thrilling sports betting. Enjoy an award-winning experience with amazing betting options, cash out, and missions, as well as other features. Join now and get a welcome bonus of up to 100,000 Naira. Betano.ng. The game starts now.
doubt and
All right, it's still our live coverage of the off-cycle election in Kogi, Imo and Bayelsa State, and we have our correspondents scattered across these states to bring us up to speed with developments leading up to the election tomorrow. We are counting down in hours. And we still have the ACP Force PRO Muyiwa Adejobi standing by to still speak with us with regards to the matter of security across these three states, and we still have our correspondent Ayo Ozubaku in Kogi State bringing us up to speed with developments there. But let me come to you, ACP. Concerns raised in Kogi State. You heard our correspondent what he said with regards to there's still the ghost of 2019 still hovering around the people of the state. They are concerned security-wise. They have no issues with INEC doing their job, but security-wise ensuring that everyone is safe because of the rhetorics leading up to the election. Those concerns, how do you address them?
Well, let me state clearly that we know that these three states, they have histories of various electoral issues in the past, not only Kogi State, even in Imo and Bayelsa. So we know, and the message the IGP gave to them, Kogi specifically, was that leaders talk to their followers and supporters to maintain peace. You will recollect that I think 2 or 3 days ago, there was a problem in Aiba, in Kogi State, where some admin invaded the house of one of the SDP stores in that state. The IGP made it known clearly that the police will investigate that matter. So if you think you want to foment trouble in Kogi, in Bayelsa or Imo states, there is no how you want to go scot-free. The IGP has made it clear that every incident to be investigated. And we have our desk officers collating electoral offenses in all these three states. And the DIG, Force CID, DIG Abiodun Sylvester Alabi FDC, is the one IGP has mandated to do thorough investigation to all cases concerning this election in all these states. So we want to allay the fears of our people in Kogi State and the other two states that there is no problem. The only thing I know is we are dynamic in nature as human beings, so as much as our processes are dynamic in nature. Don't let us live in the past that maybe in 2019 there are certain issues that could intimidate us that time, but now most of these issues have been addressed. And with deployment we have, with the new leadership we have in the place, in the Ministry of Police Affairs, Service Commission, and all other concerned military ministry, department, and agencies, we are going to get it right this time around. And the warning again is for those who might want to come out to foment trouble tomorrow. Whoever that does that will have a bloody nose. Whoever has done that will not go scot-free. Definitely we're going to get such a person, no matter how you want to do it, and you are going to meet to Waterloo, you are going to face the music. It is a message. We can't rule out the fact that certain individuals might want to come out, deviants, to cause trouble, but we are ready for them. We are going to give it to them according to their sizes. Everyone has his own size, and we are ready to give to them accordingly. But we can still warn them. There's room for us to warn them. There's room for them to have a second thought. Sheath their sword and remain in their houses. For those who have their PVCs can come out. Those who don't have their PVCs, they don't have any business coming out in any way because they are going to be embarrassed. We don't want people to move in groups. We don't want them to meet in numbers. So we want them to please play the game according to the rule of the game. We have Electoral Act 2022 and are going to enforce the provisions of this particular act totally tomorrow.
All right, everyone has their sizes. You heard him very clearly, senior correspondent Ayodele Ozugbaku. Perhaps you can quickly walk us through what the security presence is like on the streets of Lokoja, particularly when you consider the huge number of deployments that we've heard from the police in that regard. How has their interaction been, and how often do you see them on the streets?
They're all over. They're everywhere. And when you look at the deployments, from the face value, it's watertight. But it is when we get to the brass tacks tomorrow, it is when it's between the hours of 12 noon, 1 p.m., that's when we see these boys in action. Now, in Kogi State is a peculiar situation. We have, apart from the party divide, we have ethnicity. Ethnicity is going to play a major role in tomorrow's election, whether you like it or not. And a lot of people and everything. And we saw a lot of people even leaving Lokoja to go to their communities to actually exercise their franchise. But it's all looking good a day before the election. That's the normal thing. But what I'm saying that what we witnessed 4 years ago, I will still emphasize on that. And if you check the books, we expect that the number of people that have collected their PVC, that they will come out if they get that guarantee tomorrow morning that they are going to be safe. And it's not about the concentration of security Lokoja alone, because I am in Lokoja, have not gone to other parts of the state. And that is the critical part. Those are the critical areas we are talking about. Yes, Lokoja 4 years ago was highly fortified, but in spite of that, we see breaches here and there. So what we are looking at now are those remote areas. The topography of Kogi State is very peculiar, that the sharing boundaries with 10 other states. And from Lokoja here, it could take you 5 hours to get to some local government, 6 hours to get some local government, remote areas. So are they going to beam the searchlight they are talking about, not concentrating on Lokoja alone, to get to other areas so that they will be able to protect lives and property there? The rhetorics from politicians ahead of this, leading to this election has not been encouraging, and the incidents and the number of violence reported has not been too encouraging. So people are watching Kogi State in particular, that things will improve tomorrow, hopefully.
Indeed, I'll take this back to the ACP. The matter of the rhetorics leading up to this election. There's been so much accusation and counter-accusation, to the extent, I recall, Nifemi, you interviewed one of the stakeholders. Absolutely. And he said he petitioned the police. I wonder how the police is addressing all of these accusations, because that stakeholder was saying that the police actually have and know these persons, they have the evidence before them, so to speak.
Mandated the DIG investigation to investigate all cases. There are some cases that the police will handle and prosecute. But generally, according to the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, most of the electoral related cases or crimes will be investigated by the police, and our case file sent to INEC for prosecution. The police will not prosecute any electoral offense or offender. It is the INEC that will prosecute. Our job is just to investigate and hand over to them to prosecute. We work with INEC, we support INEC for prosecution and due diligence as regards this. So that any case can still report the case, follow up his case, but I can assure you, with the matching order given to the DIG investigation, I am sure all cases will be adequately and professionally attended to.
Quite comforting the way you have put it, and I'm sure that you also heard from our Bayelsa State correspondent earlier, who talked about protests. We've seen a lot of redeployment prior to this election, ACP. How do you react to the concerns in Bayelsa where they're asking for a redeployment of the Commissioner of Police?
The commissioner of police is a very high-ranking officer in the police. Deployment, posting of officers are routine things, and in most cases, are the discretion of the Inspector General of Police. The IGP knows his officers. He knows those who are competent to handle situations like this. He knows those who are election security managers, and is going to act accordingly. So he's somebody who has spent many years in the job. He has risen through the ranks to this stage, and he knows all his colleagues and his subordinates. He knows almost all of them. So the calling for the deployment of a commissioner of police is not something we're going to respond to spontaneously. The IG will need to assess certain things. We need to consider so many things. If there is need for him to redeploy, he will deploy. If there is no need to redeploy anybody, he will not deploy anybody. The only thing is going to make sure these officers are adequately supervised. And that's why DIGs are in charge of all these states. You know, DIGs are very senior officers too. They are on the field personally to manage this election security. So every CP, every IG is under the command of DIG. So the deployment of CP or AIG is immaterial. The DIG is the one in charge. I'm sure the CP Bayelsa is not the one to command. He cannot even deploy. He can't do anything without a directive from the DIG on ground. So I don't know why they call for a CP or an AIG or a DPO. It's not consequential. So they just need to understand our operations. They need to understand our administrative procedures.
But don't you think that this might have its implication on tomorrow's election, where the people do not repose confidence because of their demands not being met?
What will be the implication? Are police officers going to polling unit to vote?
They are not.
Are they not going to
they are part of the process.
They are part of the process, but these people they are calling, remove the CP. Is the CP deploying?
But we saw what happened in Imo. For the matter of neutrality, the CP was deployed. Why is Bayelsa different?
No, don't get it wrong. Don't get it wrong. The CP Imo was deployed for many reasons, not even because of any allegation or a call to remove him. I've read through in the news that people are saying IGP succumbed to pressure. No, don't let us get it wrong. These are psychological projections. We have reasons, and there are so many things that happen internally in the police that would not be known to members of the public.
But are you saying that the police is paying attention to the concerns and the voices of the protest? Is there an ongoing investigation in this regard, ACP?
The DIG in Bayelsa State is in charge. He has reacted to this issue. He was on ground personally, and he has made certain comments about this. So don't let us flog this unnecessarily. He's a very senior man. He knows what to do as at when due. So he has taken a decision on that. If there's need for him to still review whatever they have done, he's capable enough to think and take decisions, even on behalf of the Inspector General of Police. And if he thinks he needs to inform the IGP, he's going to call the IGP and they're going to deliberate on what to do. So let's allow him to perform his duties as the DIG election in Bayelsa State.
Ayo, has there been any concern of this nature in Kogi where you are, where stakeholders are asking for redeployment, whether with the police or other stakeholders?
No, I've not gotten wind of any of that agitation, but let me just bust the bubble of the police PRO. There's a major election partner in Nigeria that we cover every election together for 4 years. We are at this hotel together 4 years ago, and they normally have a situation room here. And in Bayelsa, they are not in Kogi State.
That we are going to be neutral enough, and it's number one policeman in Nigeria.
Does not have
he has
a
sent out
presence
his
here.
deputy
They are operating from
General
Abuja
Police to take
because
charge.
of the security.
Hold on, ACP.
ACP, if you could just hold on. ACP, if you could just hold on, our correspondent, Ayo, is, trying to pass across an information that is critical for you to listen to. Right, go ahead, Ayo.
Africa, they don't have their situation room in Kogi State, as I'm telling you. They are going to be operating from Abuja because of this palpable fear and the security report they've gotten. That Yaga Africa, they are not on ground here. And they are major election partners. There's no election we've done as TVC, as a TV station, that we don't refer to their statistics, their correspondence, their analysis. They check out things. They have situation rooms. They have where they capture everything. They have their own situation room, and they capture everything real time. But this year, Yaga Africa is going to operate because of the palpable fear and tension ahead of the governorship election in Kogi State. They are operating from Abuja.
Interesting twist to the story, ACP, talking about how even civil society organizations are reacting to the narrative in Kogi State. How's the police reacting to this, particularly speaking to the electorate who will be coming out tomorrow?
Well, I was not in Kogi when the civil society reacted to this, and I could not even get Ayo properly, not audio here at my end. So but I'm sure that whatever the issues, concerns of people in Kogi, Bayelsa, Imo states, all these things will be addressed by the Deputy Inspectors General of Police in charge of these states. Don't let us be dwelling in the past that this incident happened in 2019 and this incident happened in 2015 and nothing was done. We have new leadership in the police. We have new leadership in this country. Let us allow them to take charge of these things, and I can assure everybody concerned that we are going to be neutral, we are going to be apolitical, and we are going to be professional. And like I said, for any reason that we have any erring or deviant officer on the field now during this electoral process, such an officer will be sanctioned accordingly. IGP Menix, he was not just talking and carelessly about it. IGP was very passionate about it. He was in Kogi, he was in Nimo, he was in Bayelsa. So he got the message across to them. He addressed officers and men who have been deployed to all these states for this special assignment. So I'm sure every police officer is aware of this. They know the philosophy, they know the vision of the Inspector General of Police, and they know its standards. So we want to assure everyone that whatever concerns they have, let them discuss with the DIGs on ground. I am sure they're experienced enough, they are matured enough, they are professional enough to attend to all their concerns accordingly.
Right. I believe this should allay the fears of those who are concerned or raising concerns about tomorrow's election. But let's look at the conversations around what would shape the election tomorrow. You have been on ground. You must have been hearing a thing or two with regards to the dynamics that will shape the election tomorrow.
You know, I told you earlier that this is a peculiar situation that Kogi State, we have the Gala people, we have the Ibira people, we have the Okun people. And looking at these three major ethnic groups, these are three dominant ethnic groups here, and they believe in it's my turn, it's your turn, and maybe that is what obtains in the past. That will also, the issue of also, be a major factor to influence voters. The Gala people, they might be staying with their own. The Ibira people might be staying with their own. And we have candidates from the three major ethnic groups that will be contesting from each of those political parties tomorrow. And that will go a long way in informing who ever emerges at the end of the day, or it will affect the pattern of votes. And for the fact that they've had an incumbent that's been there for 7.5, going to 8 years right now, it will also be a major factor. Don't forget that this incumbent thing is also a major factor that they might want to look at the achievements on ground and what the person has done and the party structure. The party might be formidable. So all these factors will be major factors that will actually influence voters tomorrow in making their decision and choices.
Well, interesting day ahead, and we're looking forward to how that will play out. Let's tidy this up on the part of the police. Quickly, ACP, in the past we've had concerns about how policemen who are attached to polling units just look away from issues like vote buying and things like that. What is the rule of engagement, for policemen in this regard?
Well, we have conflicting provisions of our law, particularly the Electoral Acts, saying that the electoral officer on ground has many roles to play when it comes to this. When we have electoral offenders around in polling units, they expect the electoral officer to take charge and call the attention of security operatives. But whatever it is, don't forget that they have incorporated FCC into ISIS. And basically it's because of handling issues of vote buying and the likes. Vote buying and canvassing for votes, I'm sure they are not the same thing. So I don't know how I want to juxtapose that. But the fact is, operatives are on ground this time around. We have a new system on ground. We have reinforced the membership of ISES to take care of all these new cases that are coming up as per elections in Nigeria. For those who want to go out and carry cash and be buying or canvassing for votes that want to buy votes, they should know it's a criminal offense. But one thing is, people should call attention of security operatives to this. Vote buying is a silent operation. Even if you are buying a vote by your side, as a reporter, as a policeman, if you're not careful, you will not be able to notice that. It's a silent operation. Nobody will carry megaphone and be shouting at any polling unit that, please, oh, I have to come and sell your votes. I've never seen that kind of a situation in life. So we want people to call attention of security operatives to any development of this kind, so that they can take necessary action, or you call the electoral officer on ground or INEC officials on ground to give instructions to security operatives at various polling units to do the needful.
Just for clarity, ACP, just for clarity in this regard, so if you call the attention of a policeman to vote buying, what is that policeman expected to do?
Well, I think our people should be educated enough that at any polling unit, I'm talking of polling unit now,
yes.
The electoral officer is the owner of that polling unit. So I think he should be the one to take charge. But outside the polling unit, if we notice our operative deployed either from the police or any members of ISS notice such, they have the right to act. They don't need to wait for any INEC official or electoral official.
So you're saying a police officer attached to a polling unit doesn't have the right to arrest anyone found selling or buying votes?
He will not. He will not, except he's been directed or advised or to do by the electoral officer who holds the polling unit.
So,
interesting.
What's his role at the polling unit then?
So, without the electoral officer asking the policeman, what if it is a case of violence? What's the protocol in that regard?
Because there's been the talks about
it's a matter,
arresting anyone caught.
It's a matter of law.
Snatching ballot box.
It's a matter of law. And don't forget, I've told you there are so many things that we still need to address in the provisions of the Electoral Act that's giving gaps to insecurity and ineffectiveness of policing electoral process. These are facts that we need to discuss. These are facts that civil liberty organizations, interested groups should raise, and we have review of some of these provisions. In fact, the issue of harm or no arms at polling units, we still need to revisit this and review this process, because the men at various polling units are not harmed. Don't forget. The law says they must not be harmed. Right. That's why we are making provision of another ring of armed men who will embark on motorized patrol to give cover to them. But it's always very good that we review some of these laws so that we can be in tandem with current happenings in our electoral process.
Absolutely.
It's very, very critical.
That's how much time, but I think I'll have to tweet that. A police officer attached to a police station, I mean, a polling unit, cannot do anything except instructed by the electoral officer. A big thank you, ACP Muyiwa Dejabi, Police Force PRO. Thank you so much for shedding some light on some of these developments.
And let's not forget Ayodele Uzubako, our correspondent, senior correspondent in Kogi State, monitoring the election there. Thank you as well.
We're back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. as we monitor very closely developments in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa State. We have our correspondents all across these three geopolitical zones, and TVC News is the place to be.
Absolutely. We'll see you tomorrow at 7.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
Because I know who I am. I'm Bola Tinubu is the president that can secure us. I come a long way. I met Ahmed Bola Tinubu during the OP93 in 1992. And we have been close friends since then. And he has been a pillar of support to me in my most trying period. I've repeated it over and over. A lot of people will not believe I stake my life. And my brother here, he contributed enormously to what happened in the past. But we appreciated everybody who contributed. I am not a regular politician. I am just a friend of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. I am not looking for appointment. But there are those who are looking for appointment around me. And they made sacrifices. They risked their lives. And all these individuals are looking up to me. I will not do anything that will cause the president pain. And all those who are around me should rest assured that I remain the supporter of the president. Also, about Rivers State. The governor of Rivers State, Seminary, we had that disagreement, but as brothers, we would not continue on the path of bearing grudges against each other. We must always look forward and work for the good of Rivers State. And I also appeal to the Minister for the Federal Capital Territory that whatever problem they have among themselves, they may have had, it should have amicably resolved.
When it comes to the issue of Nigeria and the issue of Rivers State, we are our key stakeholders, and our interest is for the peace, economic survival, and political and economic inclusion of Rivers State. Sometimes, a friend will have disagreement. A mother and child will have disagreement, and he may have expressed concern based upon the outcry of other followers that believe in him. But right now, we're all seeing it point blank that he's still with the president, we are still with Mr. President, and also the issues in Rivers State. We have a government already that we should all work towards seeing that the government succeeds. And if there are issues with the Minister of the FCT and our governor, we should all implement. Appeal to both parties to maintain calmness. Appeal to the minister to understand and work with his governor. And also appeal to our governor to also maintain some degree of calmness and work with the minister. Because if there are issues in Rivers State, investors who come in here to invest, and there are no private investment, no private capital development, you can't have economic growth to create employment for our youth. So we need the minister to make, to understand this and put his federal network together to continue to support Rivers State. And we also need the governor to key into the vision of Mr. President so that Rivers people can, benefit from the dividend of democracy. And President Tinubu is running an inclusive government, and the governor too should also try his best and run an inclusive government so that all Rivers people can benefit. So we're here to thank our very revered chief for clearing the air that he's still with Mr. President, and is also for the interest of Rivers State. The house of President Tinubu is intact in Rivers State, and there is nothing cracked in it. And we also want to thank the President for his intervention in resolving the issue of Rivers State.
This is TVC News at 10, reaching you live from our headquarters here in Lagos. The top stories tonight. INEC makes arrangement for persons living with disabilities to vote in Saturday's election. Court stops NLC TUC from embarking on nationwide strike scheduled to commence on November the 14th. And out of Nigeria, UN calls northern Gaza hell on earth as Israeli tanks surround hospitals. In sports, Chelsea take on Manchester City at Stamford Bridge in the English Premier League. And we begin in Bayelsa State, where the Independent National Electoral Commission says it has made special arrangements to ensure voters with disabilities are not disenfranchised in Saturday's governorship election. The Commission stated this on the sidelines of last-minute preparation for tomorrow's election, where more than 1 million registered voters are expected to cast their votes. Senior correspondent Uche Okoro reports from Bayelsa.
Of the more than 1 million registered voters in Bayelsa State, 880 are people with disabilities. As INEC makes last-minute preparations at its state headquarters in Yenagoa, it says there are plans to encourage the participation of this category of voters come Saturday's election.
You will see in some polling units, part of what we will put in the kits for them will be the magnifying glass. It would then mean that there is somebody or there are persons in that polling unit who would need the aid of the magnifying glass for them to see clearly and vote. In some other places, you may see a braille jacket, a braille ballot jacket that would help somebody who can read the braille, who is blind, who can read the braille, will put the ballot in that jacket, and the person with the touch of the braille will read the name of the political party and know where to thumbprint. So we have this worked out.
Security remains a serious concern as residents return to the polls, but INEC is optimistic that the exercise would be peaceful. For observers monitoring the electoral process, the expectation is the same.
Definitely the elections will go on and somebody will win. It's only one person that will win. We are all Bayelsans. You are not voting for a person from outside. So why war? So I believe strongly that these elections will be better off, and we will shame those that are thinking that Bayelsa State will be engulfed with violence.
All eyes would be on the electoral umpire to see what improvements have been made and lessons learned from the conduct of the 2023 general election.
We've just prayed that the beavers machine should work. And also results must be uploaded. That is critical, because we don't want to take any excuse, because the federal government has said, has budgeted the funds, and when we discuss with some of the recs, they confirm to us that money is not the problem. So I see no reason whatsoever why they will not deliver on this Bayelsa election.
Voting is expected to take place in 2,242 polling units across the 8 local government areas of Bayelsa State. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Yenagoa.
In a last-minute briefing, the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Department of Information and Communication Technology, Daniel Sokari Pedro, has asked politicians and their supporters not to heat up an already tensed atmosphere ahead of tomorrow's governorship election. He told journalists that pre-election issues and complaints such as the removal of Commissioner of Police Tolani Alausa should not be used to undermine the readiness of the police. He maintains that the redeployment of any officer can only be done by the Inspector General of Police.
Everybody to tread with caution, should give peace a chance and ensure that we do not make unnecessary inflammatory statements. And it has come to my notice that politicians have been using some fake law enforcement agents. I want to assure you that whether such law enforcement agents are fake or real, if they are arrested, they are in serious trouble.
1,833,160 registered voters are eligible to participate in Saturday's governorship election in Kogi State. This data is according to INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner of Kogi State, Hali Longpet. Accredited observer groups seem to be satisfied with the level of preparedness on the poll. Correspondent Habida Lawal reports.
INEC's resident electoral commissioner in the state, Professor Hale Longpent, says the commission has engaged the service of 15,000 ad hoc staff and has provided sufficient bimodal voter accreditation systems that will enhance the electoral process.
The staff is responsible for his or her own action. The Electoral Act provides for the prosecution of anybody, staff or citizen out there that interferes with the process to be prosecuted.
For accredited observers like Connected Development, they officially rolled out their Uzabe monitoring platform in collaboration with Kogi NGO platform. They say their early assessment report already indicates that the citizens are eager to vote and they have high expectations.
Witnessed in recent Nigerian election. Additionally, we acknowledge the increased presence of security personnel, indicating that the government's commitment to safeguarding citizens and their constitutional rights.
To foster an environment that encourages the active participation of citizens and ensure their voices are heard.
On persons with disabilities, INEC says it has made provisions for Braille and a magnifying glass for albinos. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Lokoja.
We're staying in Kogi State, where a non-governmental organization working to strengthen democracy and ensure election security has appealed to political actors and security agencies to ensure decorum and play by the rules during the election. Correspondent Ademola Lawrence reports.
The countdown to the 0 hour has started when registered voters will come out to cast their ballot in a Kogi governorship election. But their safety is also concerned as civil society organizations are advocating and piling pressure on security agencies to ensure votes are protected and the atmosphere is conducive for the conduct of a credible, free, and fair election.
In Kogi State, 6 out of 21 local governments have been identified as hotspots or flashpoints. These include Ijumo, Ogorimagongo, Igalamela, Ankpa, Dekina, and Ofu local government.
These civil society organizations have already carried out its own independent trust level assessment and have identified areas which potentials for violence during elections, and they want increased concentration of security agencies.
KDI urge all political party leadership and candidates to abide by this signed peace accord and call their supporters to respect and abide by the same.
Just as voters will be out to choose who will be governor in the next political dispensation, security agencies are also expected to demonstrate the highest level of professionalism and be non-partisan during the whole electoral process. Ademola Lawrence, TVC News, Lokoja, Kogi State.
And let's turn now to Imo, where some civil society organizations are on the streets of Owerri, calling on registered voters to move out en masse to exercise their franchise. The CSOs are also suing for a peaceful election during tomorrow's governorship poll. TVC's Prince Uba reports.
This is the message of these civil society organizations as they move around the streets of Imo State, calling for peaceful governorship election on Saturday.
Essence is to tell our people, the Imo people, on the need to come out and participate actively on the November 11 off-cycle election in Imo State. And also the need to encourage our youth to shun violence activities on that day of election.
Most people reside in the rural areas. They don't have access to information that are in the city. So we brought it down to the rural area, where in Umunahu, in Orata, Owerri North local government, to sensitize the people of Umunahu on the need for them to come out and cast their vote come this November 11.
If you stay in your house and you don't want to come out and vote, then the few number that comes out to vote determines your future for you. So we are using this avenue to call on everyone to come out.
The representative of National Voters Drive Coalition and Imo Advocacy Group, Dabrechi Ekejoba, demanded for a free, fair and credible election on Saturday.
We are all coming together as an organization and the leaders of this generation to say that this time around, votes must count in Imo,
The civil society groups say they will continue to hold election stakeholders responsible for credible and violence-free election to encourage good governance. Prince Oba, TVC News, Owerri.
And still in Imo State, the Nigerian Police Force says it has completed its deployment across the 27 local government areas of Imo State. The Deputy Inspector General of Police supervising the November the 11th election in the state, Frank Umba, said this shortly after a show of force was displayed by the police personnel ahead of Saturday's election. Correspondent Bimodal has the story.
Police chopper on standby for area surveillance as part of efforts to ensure adequate security of the process. Armored vehicles and other security apparatus had been deployed to strategic points in the state. The body language of security officials here clearly states their readiness to take charge of securing the 27 local government areas where elections will be taking place on Saturday. Also at the force headquarters, the DIG interacted with election observers and civil society organizations ahead of the election. It was an opportunity to talk about other areas of concern in relation to security.
We have finished our deployment for these elections. We're lucky because it is an off-cycle election. Therefore, we have sufficient resources to deploy for this election. Sufficient manpower, we have sufficient operational assets, and we'll make the utmost use of these assets, of these operational assets.
Again, residents of Imo State are assured of adequate security as they go to the polls on Saturday.
So that we can all prove all the doomsayers wrong. Imo is not a war zone.
Abimbola Agbibi, TVC News, Owerri.
And still to come on the news at 10, Senator Tokunbo Abiru says, for Nigeria to ensure inclusive growth, financial operators must improve on their credit culture. We have details of these and many more after the break. Stay with us.
Bye, Mom.
He's going to play in this weather. Why did you let him go? He might fall ill.
And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with germ defense gives you protection. Raining season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's germ defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
And thanks for staying with us on TVC News at 10. A reminder of our top stories. INEC makes arrangement for persons living with disabilities to vote in Saturday's election. The court stops NLC TUC from embarking on nationwide strike scheduled to commence on November the 14th. And out to Nigeria, UN calls northern Gaza hell on earth as Israeli tanks surround hospitals. And in sports, Chelsea take on Manchester City at Stamford Bridge in the English Premier League. And now to Labour matters. The National Industrial Court has stopped the Nigerian Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress and their affiliates from embarking on any form of strike. President of the court, Justice Benedict Kanip, issued the restraining order on Friday following an ex parte application by the federal government and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. The federal government and the AGF, through their lawyer, Tijani Ghazali, prayed the court to stop the planned strike scheduled for November the 14th due to untold hardship it will inflict on innocent law-abiding citizens and their businesses. In his ruling, Justice Kanip invoked sections 17 and 19 of the National Industrial Court Act to issue the restraining order and directed that the order be pasted on the wall of the Labour House, being the last known address of the two defendants. And air travelers heaved a sigh of relief as the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Abuja came alive after Thursday's disruption of services by organized labor. The president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, on the other hand, insists the police in Imo State arrested him and allegedly handed him over to thugs to be brutalized. TVC News' Joke Adisa reports.
Mixed reactions trailed the decision of Nigeria's two labor centers to stage a protest across airports on Thursday. Both congresses say the action was in continuation of the resolve to have the ears of the authorities over the crisis with the Imo State government. In Abuja, flights were disrupted for over 3 hours, causing untold hardship for passengers and other visitors to the airport. It's the day after and regular flight schedules have resumed. At the Pascal Bafia Labour House, NLC President Joe Ajero broke his silence since the beating meted on him and other workers, including the TVC News crew in Imo during the last protest.
I want to take it beyond my family members. And if at all they are contested, like you said, and they have lost out, is it before the election or what?
The NLC president also says there will be no backing down until the welfare and well-being of workers in Imo State are adequately taken care of.
Not even my death. I have died in the process. The people that will take over will be not daring. And that's what we do. And that's why when you hear us say the struggle continues.
The Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have declared a nationwide strike from next week should the issues in dispute remain unresolved. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered thorough investigations into circumstances surrounding the alleged assault on President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajero. IGP Egbetokun directed the Deputy Inspector General in charge of the Force Criminal Investigation Department to take over the matter to ascertain the true facts surrounding the incident. According to a statement by the Force PRO, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, the investigation is to address any ambiguities and clear the conflicting accounts trailing the matter, and appropriate actions will be taken on the report of the investigation. The NLC president was reportedly arrested by police operatives in Owerri and allegedly beaten up by suspected thugs after being taken to an unknown destination last Wednesday. And to other stories, University of Calabar have signed a memorandum of understanding with Media Vision as the sole marketer for the 2026 Nuga Games. The Vice Chancellor of the school, Professor Florence Obi, made the announcement at the MOU signing ceremony at the Council Chamber of the institution. In her remarks, the Vice Chancellor stated that the University of Calabar is starting early to ensure the facilities are ready in time for the Games. She further stated that officials of Nuga will visit the university by the end of 2024 to inspect the facilities. Founder Media Vision Limited, Mr. Obafela Bankolemo, thanked the Vice Chancellor for this opportunity. He promised to contribute his quota to ensuring the success of UNICAL Nuga 2026. Mr. Bankolemo also announced the commencement of the UNICAL Nuga 2026 mascot design competition. This competition begins on Thursday, November the 9th, and will close on Thursday, December the 7th.
So we think it's good for us to start very early. We want to kickstart a number of things. The MOU will be signed later on. We want to talk about the design for our mascot and want to see how the Media Vision team will go out there, market Nuga 2026, raise funds that will help us to host, like we will always say, the best Nuga ever in the history of Nuga.
15 to 20 years, we have been focused on sports marketing. And I can dare say that we are undoubtedly one of the biggest companies in that space in Nigeria. We manage some of the biggest brands in the country. So we are confident that working with UNICAL, one of the best, most popular, one of the most respected university brands in Nigeria. We are confident that together we'll be able to put together a wonderful Nougat game.
And out to the nation's capital, where chairman of the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, Senator Tokunbo Abiru, says for Nigeria to ensure inclusive growth, financial operators must improve on their credit culture. The suggestion was made at a two-day retreat in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Tijesu Adeoye reports.
The Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions put together this retreat for its members. The purpose is to meet minds and equip themselves with the requisite knowledge on ways the country can improve its financial landscape, achieve stability, grow its economy, and safeguard the interest of citizens.
It is the bedrock of any society, and it is how you also lift people out of poverty so that people don't buy certain basic needs of life. Only, you want to buy a house.
If we want this to be sustained, then the 80% that deposit their money in banks, we should be able to come with legislations that will give them also the kind of succo and the kind of opportunity like any other person.
For us to grow our economy, we must make credit available for small-scale industries to grow.
The lawmakers will use legislative instruments to surmount some of these challenges and address the increasing number of abandoned mega projects.
The way forward is to do the audit of this project, see which of them are still useful, which of them can be sold so that we can use the money to bring the ones that are useful into activation.
There is need for a legislative intervention whereby the powers of the civilian governor should be decentralized.
With a rapidly changing financial landscape driven by technological advancements, changing consumer expectations, and evolving global dynamics, it is imperative to adapt and respond to these challenges, and that should be in a manner that fosters innovation, promotes financial inclusion, and maintains the highest standards of transparency and accountability. Tijesu Adeoye, TVC News, Abuja.
And to other stories, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has to clear our children's names and also render an apology for the trauma they are going through. This is coming from parents of the released students of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, in Osun State, recently raided by the agency. Senior correspondent Ivy Kano reports.
First November sting operation by the EFCC has continued to generate reactions, and this conference is one of such. These are some of the parents of the students released after they were picked up that night. They say life hasn't been the same for their children after that experience.
My youngest son feels anybody that sees him now will see him as a prisoner. They shouldn't have subjected these children to that.
Sent him on an errand. He wore a mask. I asked him, why are you wearing a mask? You don't have kata. He said he doesn't want people to see his face.
They should stop asking them to be going and coming. After pronouncing that, we found nothing against them.
They are seeking answers to some salient questions.
No such warrant was presented, but they went with guns. We therefore seek to know what excuse or justification accounted for jettisoning all known standard protocol.
Part of their concerns also include the negative impact the incident may have on their children's future.
A cursory online search for the names of any and all of these children will reveal one common thing. They have all been labeled as internet fraudsters all over the world.
He had been on 90 for 6 months. And he just went back to school, barely 1 month or 2 months before, and this happened. And that was a critical part of his graduation. He's in his final year.
Not done. They are demanding an apology from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
We all demand that the agency expunge their names, pictures, identities, biometrics, and everything pertaining to them from all EFCC records and all social media platforms. We expect the announcement of the removal of their names followed by the issuance of a public apology. This public apology must be advertised in leading national newspapers
and circulated on all EFCC social media handles.
69 students were arrested and 11 of them have been charged and arraigned by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, IV, Kano. TVC News, Lagos.
And now to Kaduna State, where access to education has become a significant struggle for young survivors of terrorist attacks in Atiap Chiefdom in the southern region of Kaduna. The traditional leaders are taking action, rallying support from caring citizens and organizations to help these children return to the classroom. Our correspondent Lupe Asom reports.
These communities in Atiap Chiefdom in southern Kaduna are grappling with the harsh realities in the aftermath of devastating terrorist attacks. Among the victims are children who have been left orphaned, now residing in displaced persons camps. For them, access to education has become a significant challenge. In response, traditional leaders are taking actions to make a difference. They are seeking support from compassionate citizens and organizations to ensure these youngsters can return to the classrooms.
But I am calling on, as I said, on organizations, NGOs, yes, that the battle we had for the peace of the land is not ended. If you have the peace and you have so many underprivileged children roaming around, yes, it is perhaps a piece of the graveyard. So it is better that you undertake to train these children so that they develop with morals, so that they develop academically to be useful to the society.
The traditional leaders have also established a foundation to mobilize assistance and care for these orphans who are currently not attending school. Their aim is to provide scholarship for at least 118 children in the initial phase of the scholarship program. But beyond education, the communities are urging for an improvement in security to guarantee the safety of their villages. Lupe Asom, TVC News, Kaduna.
The Oluwo of Iwo, Oba Abdul Rashid Akombi, has appealed to the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress to shelve their planned nationwide strike in the interest of Nigerians. The monarch, who was addressing journalists in Iwo, expressed belief that Nigerians will soon begin to reap the benefits of the current economic policies. TVC News correspondent Rafiu Hamid reports.
It's the third edition of the annual Gods Festival, organized by the Oluwo of Iwo, Oba Abdul Rashid Akombi. The event brings together traditional rulers from within and outside the state, including the Olofo of Ofa, Oba Mufta of Badamasi. Christian and Muslim faithful, as well as traditional religion worshippers, had the opportunity to praise and give thanks to God in their own ways for sparing their lives. Oba Abdul Rashid Akombi speaks on the motive behind the festival.
Every day we pray to God, we praise Him, but there is a special day to celebrate. It's a day of celebration, and we're celebrating God in a special way because why? This God is the owner of the throne. Believe me, you see me celebrating God. I cannot be dethroned. I'm celebrating the undethronable God.
We are showing our happiness. We are thanking the Almighty Allah for saying that we are to represent Him on earth.
The traditional ruler said the planned nationwide industrial action will not address the challenges facing the country, but prayers and support for the president to actualize his dream for the country. 50 persons, most of whom are aged and widows, were presented with cash gifts by the Oluwo of Iwo to start up their own small-scale businesses. Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Iwo, Osun State.
And you're watching TVC News at 10. We will return with more stories after these breaks. Stay with us.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to officially welcome you to the grand launch of this wonderful initiative celebrating the completion of the first 2,000 vehicles assembled here in Ogba.
To the glory of God and to the benefit of mankind,
I now officially commission the 2000 car itself, number 2000, built by GSC in conjunction with the Lagos State government as partners.
Our story began with the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between CIG Motor Company Limited and Lagos State government sometime in September 2020 at the peak of COVID-19 pandemic. Once it was signed, my team and I struck for just one thing: deliver on the objective of the partnership.
You know that China and Nigeria are very important strategic partner, and during the past years, we are confident in the future of automobile industry.
Let us challenge you here now that 2,000 is just a small feat. The 5,000 and the 10,000 you promised me, go out there and get it done. We don't need Tokumbo vehicles. We need tier rubber brand new vehicles in our country. And you can see, even from this place, that it is happening. Diana, thank you very much for showing the way. Hopefully many others will follow soon. I want to thank all of the banks that have also supported them. Let us reduce, our pressure on foreign currency so that indeed our kids, our youth, our young children, our young graduates can have a means of employment. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks for staying with us. A climate change expert believes the rainy season being experienced in parts of the country during this period are clear indications of global warming. This comes after the Nigerian Meteorological Agency recently released predictions of heavy rainfall alerts in different parts of the country. Esther Mokbariola reports.
As the year approaches its end, the usual conclusion of the rainy season is delayed. Earlier this year, the Lagos State government warned of above-average annual rainfall spanning from April to December based on seasonal climate forecasts. Subsequently, heightened flooding in different parts of the country led to temporary displacement and property loss.
Look at how men and women, children are suffering. There's nowhere we can even stay at this moment. No relief materials. Look at all crops have been damaged and all that.
However, experts say that changing weather patterns indicate climate change caused by human activities. This phenomenon has wide-ranging impacts on public health, food systems, education, and various aspects of public life.
Heat wave in the northern part of the country will lead to heat-induced disease incidents. We should also expect increase in malaria incidences because when you have flooding, you have stagnant water. So the impact of this erratic weather condition on public health is simply the increase in the incidence of diseases.
Despite ongoing efforts to reduce carbon emissions and mitigate the effects of climate change, building adaptation strategies is crucial to navigating this evolving climate reality.
As much as possible, try to, practice sustainability in everything we do. Instead of one family bringing out 4 cars and the 4 cars is carrying just one person at a time, can a family of 4 just decide to drive in the car and reduce the carbon emission to just one vehicle? Let's plant trees. Trees are known as sinks for carbon. Even with the heat wave, if you have good green cover in terms of tree, forest, people can easily go under those trees and take shade.
In the face of changing weather, experts say our actions matter. Embracing sustainable options and being prepared are key to tackling the challenges that lie ahead. Esther Mokbariola, TVC News, Lagos.
And to other stories, a group of Nigerians is canvassing citizen awareness towards creating a just and right society by doing things the right way, regardless of status and the challenges being faced in the society. This was the consensus at a gathering tagged Do the Right Thing Summit in Abuja. TVC News' Joke Adisa reports. We will return with a business and sports update after this report. Stay with us.
In the nation's early days, patriotism was the norm, and the nation's interest superseded any individual or group's concerns, but that has been eroded over the years. Today, favoritism, nepotism, and corruption are some of the vices that have reshaped Nigeria's history, plunging the country into deep economic crisis. In the midst of numerous challenges, many citizens see the nation's cup as half empty rather than half full.
Citizens on government policies, programs.
This campaign, tagged Do the Right Thing, is to awaken the patriotism in every citizen such that everyone, irrespective of class and status, does what is right.
Our collective wisdom and determination can lead to a world where doing the right thing is not just a slogan but a way of life.
Imagine that every one of us, in public and private offices around the country, commit to doing the right thing.
I hope we can all come up with a definition of a right leader that all of us can go away with, satisfied that this is the type of leader or leaders we need in Nigeria.
A celebrity and movie actor, Ejike Asiegbu, advocates the use of movies and music to promote Do the Right Thing campaign.
Change for me, in terms of changing something, is a continuous process. Trying to continuously do an upgrade, try to continually bring in the young ones. There must be a potpourri of both young and old to fashion out the best ways through, to improve development of.
The summit themed Being the Right Leader hopes to chart a new course in managing indiscipline as well as stimulate effective and transformative leadership. Joke Edsa, TVC News, Abuja.
You're still watching TVC News at 10 in business now. In a bid to woo more investors into Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu departed Nigeria for the Saudi Africa Summit, which kicks off today in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The two-day event provides the opportunity for President Tinubu to deepen the partnership between Nigeria and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in order to attract more foreign direct investment into the country. On our flagship program, Business Nigeria, principal partner at Woodridge and Scott Consulting, Mr. Shegun Shokito, suggested other investment opportunities the country can take advantage of.
Nigeria has been very deliberate in opening up its oil and gas sector, has made it more investment friendly for people who would be interested in taking advantage of our huge reserves, both in oil and in condensates and all the other natural resources we have in that sector. Let's hope that the message that the president will put out there would help us attract investment to that sector, because we do have a dire need to boost production capacity there. We need investment flows for exploration activities, for exploitation, for drilling, and all of that. So hopefully that this activity from the president will help boost that. Of course, we know the impact that has immediately on the fiscal health of the country, because for now we still depend. The government depends to a large extent on oil revenues for government finances.
Eco Distribution Electricity Company has expressed concerns over the rising cases of energy theft, meter bypass, and unauthorized connections in the Lekki district of Lagos State. Dr. Tinuade Sanda, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Eco Electricity Distribution Company, made this known at the Customer Engagement Forum at Lekki. The MD was represented by Ms. Catherine Eziafolukwe. The Chief Customer Experience Officer revealed that energy theft has continued to negatively impact the supply and distribution of power in the area, with debilitating consequences. She stated that the management of the distribution company is working with the police and communities vigilante to reduce vandalism. Ms. Eziafolukwe also condemned the illegal activities of ex-officials of the distribution company were found to have been involved in defrauding unsuspecting customers. However, the distribution company boss has promised to take legal action against individuals or groups caught engaging in such activities.
we had to shut down our metering process because there was going to be a review in prices from the regulators due to the, of course, the inflation rate and then, of course, the change in foreign currency. So we had to kind of suspend that process. But in the last 2 weeks, we started again, and we're back on track because now we've started working aggressively with our market vendors, and we assure our esteemed customers that between now and end of the year, they're going to see a massive improvement in our metering process, so that way we can also account for the energy that we use, and reduce the energy theft that we're currently having.
Power theft has been something that has really affected everyone on this axis. We customers should actually learn from what's happening. If we continue like this, then we're going to remain in the same situation we have been and will continue to be here. We have to learn that we have to pay for the services that we get. Simple and straightforward.
They're actually doing a lot that I personally was not aware of. And I don't think it's just me. I think a lot of people in the community are not fully aware of what EKDC are doing, the efforts they're making to improve the power sector. So we really need to have better communication from them and more engagement from us.
Away from there now, the International Facility Management Association, IFMA, of Nigeria Lagos chapter has awarded the Media Excellence Award to selected media personalities, including TVC business editor Mr. Tolulope Gujobi, for his contribution towards advocating for the adoption and engagement of facility managers in all sectors of the built environment. We have more details in this report.
Facility management is a profession that encompasses multiple disciplines to ensure the functionality of the built environment by integrating people, place, process, and technology. This offers many professionals and non-professionals the opportunity to network and exchange information with other facility management professionals locally and internationally through conferences and seminars, council programs, among others. This is why the International Facility Management Association Lagos chapter is partnering with other stakeholders to bridge the gap and ensure compliance in the management of public and private facilities.
There's a lot of gap within the professionals in the built environment, and facility management is like the umbrella of all the professionals in the built environment. That's why we look at it that it is time for us to come together and think among ourselves and have a good synergy that will make us have a sustainable building or facility or infrastructure, whatever you call it, so that at the end of the day, it will be a kind of saving our soul, saving our resources, then ensuring that we are living in a safe environment.
The media is not left out in this advocacy drive. TVC News business editor Mr. Tolulope Gujobi, who was represented at the event, was recognized with the Media Excellence Award for his enormous contribution towards creation of awareness in the built environment.
The other journalists that were given to their roles, their contribution towards the the awareness that they are creating in their various organizations. That is why we just look at it. We did the sampling. We did a kind of survey, and then the lot fell on them, and that is why they are giving the award.
Some years back, nobody knew anything at all about facilities management. But now that the idea is coming up, we find people declaring themselves facilities managers without quite understanding the scope of what facility management is about.
Collaboration, which is the central theme of this gathering today, simply seeks to ensure that no profession goes it alone. We need each other to be able to drive the message down there to the populace.
The International Facility Management Association Nigeria chapter has become the strongest advocate within the built space, thereby raising a new generation of leaders within the building and construction industry.
We'll say congratulations to our own Tolulope Gujobi there. And to equities market now, the stock market concluded positive trading in the week as gains were splashed on many securities. Our TVC News market editor Ifeong Ekam has more in this report.
Weekend business at the stock market closed the positive trade pattern that had trailed the week since Monday. market index got upward by 0.06% to stress gains on investments. It was petroleum marketing firm Conoil that grabbed the biggest gain above 6%, followed by Access Corporation, Chams Holding, African Prudential Insurance and CNI Leasing. Downside traders with losses included Dangote Sugar, eTransact, Kebeton Aviation, Qtix and Cornerstone Insurance. In other stock markets across Africa, trade patterns were in mixed territories. Negative trades dominated the Johannesburg Exchange in South Africa. The appetite for stock sales depressed the market by a large margin above a percentage point. In Kenya, the Nairobi Exchange traded in the positive territory with financial market instruments taking up attention. Lastly, the stock market in Accra, Ghana, closed flat, showing weakened, pointless direction of transactions. Ifyong Ekop, TVC News, Lagos.
Let's take a look at some figures in the global oil market now. Prices were up slightly earlier today, but are set to fall for a third week as concerns of supply disruptions from the Israel-Hamas conflict have ebbed, allowing demand worries to reassert themselves. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose to sell at $76.16 per barrel with an upward price margin of 0.55%. Brent crude futures also experienced an upward price review of 0.6% to sell at $80.49 per barrel. Bonnet Light recorded a downward price review of 0.05%, selling at $81.16 per barrel. For the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers were offering $84.27 per barrel with a downward price margin of 2.58%. Well, and that's it for business. And coming up next is Sport Wrap. Please stay with us.
Our planet, our home, threatened by man's activities with fears of mass extinction on the rise. On Green Angle, we examine the issues that affect our environment, seek solutions to put us on track to secure and restore a cleaner and greener world for generations to come.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw ether material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Hello and welcome to sports. Chelsea will be hoping to cause an upset when they host Manchester City in the Premier League. There will also be high-profile games across Spain and Italy. Let's preview those games for you. The English Premier League continues this weekend as Chelsea host Manchester City at Stamford Bridge with a mouth-watering showdown. Officiating controversy cast a shadow on the Blues' stunning 4-1 victory at Tottenham Hotspur as Mauricio Pochettino's side overhauled a 1-0 deficit to end 9-man Spurs' unbeaten start to the season. On the other hand, Bournemouth 6 goals, just 2 points behind early leaders Tottenham as they looked to become the first ever men's team to win the English top flight 4 years in a row.
Now Oscar Bob, bit of space for him, Ake!
The Blues have lost their last 6 on the bounce against the Premier League champions.
De Bruyne's moved it out for Jack Grealish, it's low across the face of goal and turned in.
In other fixtures, Wolves will tackle Tottenham Hotspur, Arsenal will host Burnley, while Manchester United will face Luton Town on Saturday. And on Sunday, Brighton will take on Sheffield United, Liverpool will take on Brentford, while West Ham United will play Nottingham Forest. In the Spanish La Liga, Real Sociedad will travel to play Almeria. Osasuna will host Palmas, while Real Madrid will host Valencia at the Santiago Bernabeu. And on Sunday, Barcelona will welcome Alaves, while Atletico Madrid will tackle Villarreal. In the Italian Serie A, Lecce will play host to AC Milan, Juventus will face Cagliari, and on Sunday, Napoli will play Empoli, Lazio will take on Roma, while Inter Milan will welcome Frosinone at the San Siro Stadium. And back at home here, the Nigeria Premier Football League Week 8 matches are in the offing this weekend, and here are the fixtures. Saturday's only game will be in Gombe, where Doma United will have a difficult home game against Aqua United. And on Sunday, champions Enyimba will travel to play Kano Pillars. Katsina United will welcome Rivers United. Kwara United will take on Shooting Stars. League leaders Lobby Stars will host newly promoted Sporting Lagos. Bedell Insurance will play Niger Tornadoes. Remo Stars will tackle Gombe, while Sunshine Stars will play Enugu Rangers. And the Nigeria Women's Football League has announced a change in the date for the 2023-24 NPFL NWFL Premiership season opener between Ekiti Queens and Delta Queens in Ado Ekiti. Our correspondent Jen Weze tells us more about it, and that will be all on football tonight.
The match in the opening event, originally scheduled for Wednesday, 15th of November, will now take place a day earlier on Tuesday, 14th of November. The president of the Nigeria Football Federation, Ibrahim Guzu, will be in attendance at the season opener to show support and encouragement for the continued growth of women's football. Ahead of the season opener, the NWFL received a delegation from the United Towns Agency, an affiliate of the United Nations involved in sustainable development goals. The league organizers and UTA are proposing to explore mutual interests and partnership opportunities that will advance the league.
So we are here to reach partners, to create that dream, and to make it happen. So I'm really optimistic that this is the first step to the right direction. We are here today to partner with the Nigerian Football League, the chairperson of Inclusivity, and to strengthen the relationship between the countries.
The NWFL has been actively engaging with various organizations to foster social, economic, structural, and technical growth within the country's Women's Football League. Chairman of the NWFL, Nkechi Obi, alongside all the board members, discussed partnership strategies that would leverage the agency's resources and expertise to support the development of women's football.
See women's football as an opportunity to advance the cause of gender equality, to advance grassroots development of both women and girls, and as well as community development.
The parties have identified the potential signing of a UTA-NWFL strategic initiative as a next crucial step in their collaborative efforts. Jane Frances Mweze, TVC News, Abuja.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's turn to the Middle East, where Israeli tanks have surrounded several hospitals in Gaza. That's according to health officials, as Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City comes under attack 5 times in less than 24 hours. Palestinians fleeing on the main road towards southern Gaza come under attack, and that's according to witnesses. The relentless Israeli bombardment has damaged more than 50% of housing units across Gaza. The UN's humanitarian office issued a statement saying, if there is a hell on earth, it is northern Gaza. At least 11,078 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October the 7th. In Israel, the death toll stands at more than 1,400. News just reaching us from Bayelsa State is that a boat carrying election personnel to registration area 17, Koluama in southern Ijo local government area, capsized earlier today. Fortunately, no life was lost as all election personnel numbering 12 and the boat operator were rescued. However, INEC officials revealed in a statement that election result sheets, power banks and luggage containing personal effects of staff have been lost to the sea. The total number of registered voters in the affected registration area is 5,368, and the number of PVCs collected is 5,311. INEC says it is making efforts to ensure the conduct of election in the affected area. INEC has also reported that a supervising presiding officer assigned to registration area 06, Osioma in Sagbama local government area, has been abducted while waiting to board a boat at Amasoma Jetty. Although security agencies have been notified, there is no update yet on rescue operations. We'll stay on that story and bring you updates as we get them. Now, TVC News has denied broadcasting any story suggesting that a candidate withdrew from the Imo governorship race scheduled for tomorrow, Saturday, the 11th of November. The management has since issued a disclaimer on all its social media handles explaining that the news is fake and fabricated by some mischief makers. The channel has further confirmed from INEC that no candidate has withdrawn from the race, as the time to do so has elapsed, which further proves the news is fake. It advises the public, especially prospective voters in Imo State, to disregard the fake viral video. And that's the news this hour. Thanks for watching. Coming up next is a repeat broadcast of Journalist Hangout.
Action with Betano, your exciting destination for thrilling sports betting. Enjoy an award-winning experience with amazing betting options, cash out, and missions, as well as other features. Join now and get a welcome bonus of up to 100,000 Naira. Betano.ng. The game starts now.
Benga Deinka the First is back with Laugh Matas Lagos again. Featuring Alibaba, Two-Face Idibia, Destalker, Adewale Ayuba, Omo Baba, Rogadi Baba, Bash, Dr. Smile, Kofi the Guru, Aristos Band, MC Adele, Funny Bone, MC Danfo, Babalaria, Gorose Kitty, Damola, Mekoyo, Mario, MC 90s, Lizzie J, MC Lyo, Ashney, DJ Vinny, and many more. Date Sunday, 26th November. Venue Balmoral Convention Center, Federal Palace Hotel. Time 4 p.m. Tickets regular 5K, VIP 20K, silver table 1 million. Gold table 2 million, platinum table 3 million. Tickets available at all Ebano supermarket outlets. Ebony Live Cinema VI, Royal Root Cinema, Ikota Lekki, Cap Cinemas, Ogundano Street, Ikeja, and online at ariatickets.com, grandtickets.ng, laughmatas.ng. Brought to you by Martina, Goldberg, Ace Peters, supported by Laugh Matas, Oma Loud Media partner